Hello. So I never thought that I would make videos on this platform. I have another platform, another channel, and I realized that because of the way I live and the way I express myself, certain aspects of myself come out based off of the situation or the scenario. But I felt compelled to talk about this particular video now, or this particular topic in this particular video. Now about to go down a deep rabbit hole. So get ready if you wish to not follow me, but be inspired so that you can go down your own rabbit hole, because this is one of many examples of what is being expressed here. So, I just finished watching Disenchanted, and I have to say, I am disenchanted. Now, let me explain. My mom and I were watching Disenchanted together, and I was just like, let's check it out. I saw the preview, the trailer when it came out, and I was excited. I was thinking, ooh, what is this? And then it came out, and I'm like, I wasn't anxious to watch it. Nobody really talked anything about it. So then I said, well, okay, let me try and see if I like it. Let's watch it tonight. Now, my mom never saw Enchanted, and I haven't seen Enchanted since it first came out. So let's say a good 10 years since I've seen it all the way through. And the feeling that I felt with Disenchanted was there was a lot of icing and not enough cake. That's the best way I can describe it. There's a lot of sprinkles, a lot of icing, but the cake was not baked. Well, there was some cake, but it really wasn't a lot. And it was a story there, but it got flooded by the quote unquote magic. And that's going to be the main topic in here. What is the magic specifically in the world of Andalasia? But it's really not the world of Andalasia. Disclaimer, there will be a lot of plot holes. There will be a lot of um, incontinuity. And just in general, these are two stories that are set in the same universe with the same characters, but it just does not add on. They don't connect. It's honestly, I would consider this to be a live action Disney sequel. Is this the first live action Disney sequel? I believe there was Mary Poppins, but I really don't count that. One, because I didn't really see it, and two, because a story like Mary Poppins, how do you continue that? But I can't really speak on Mary Poppins, but I know that was a sequel, technically. But I feel that when it comes to, also, when it comes to like those Disney Renaissance sequels, we had one of the first sequels I can remember, which I think it was a very close window because they were within the same decade, um, as well as The Lion King. Yeah, The Lion King and Pocahontas and Aladdin all had sequels within the decade of the Disney Renaissance. Interesting. I feel that's one of the examples of the watering down with the stories. Now, they were okay. They were good, more or less. There were some good songs, there were some good moments, but it was still a sequel and it washed out the story. The same with Beauty and the Beast. Now, I like Enchanted Christmas. But I think the biggest one that really set off the Disney sequel era is The Little Mermaid too, because The Little Mermaid, of course, was the big Renaissance savior of Disney. So with Enchanted in 2007, we get something unprecedented, something unique, something original. And rewatching it tonight, it was magical. It was magical. As I said, my mom never saw it, and she loved it. She loved it. She thought that compared to the other one, she said, "Well, now I got some understanding, but it still doesn't make sense." So even with the few minutes that we saw of the movie, because we were only 20, 30 minutes in, and we was like, "No, we got to change." I'm like, "Let's watch the original." And I explained to her, which is very interesting. Get this: the movie does not start. The story does not start until Giselle falls down that well. See, before that, she's in the parody of Disney, specifically the Disney princess archetype. And she then goes into another world. Keywords: a world without happily ever afters, per the evil queen, Narissa, played by the amazing Susan Sarandon. Shout out to all the actors in both movies, um, some who returned and some who did not. Y'all did the thing. So we have Giselle in Enchanted, and pretty much she is a fish out of water in a different world, right? So when it comes to Disenchanted, she's still a fish out of water, after she's gone through all of those amazing things. But now New York is boring, or New York is too much for her. And so they go to this place called Monroeville. And the reason why she went is because she looked at an ad, or she learned about it, and it looked like castles. So she thought, oh, I need to live in a castle in order to get my happily ever after. So either this Giselle has amnesia, or we're in another dimension. And I'll explain why. This is an introduction video. I'm not going to be on here too long for y'all. So as the analysis develops, new thoughts may come up, but there's going to be a lot of theories, a lot of analysis, a lot of speculation, um, just trying to comprehend what is going on here. What is the true magic? Now, in Disenchanted, the magic, all the stereotypical tropes that have been exploited, because originally these stereotypes were very powerful allegories and archetypes back in the ancient times. Midnight, um, dragons, magic wands, fairy godmothers, evil witches. It's all part of the arcanum, okay, the occult. Open your mind, think for yourself, and find what's within you. That's the magic. So with Enchanted, um, the reason why Enchanted worked is because we realized that it's not the sparky sparks and the sparkles, it's not the icing. It's you getting all of the ingredients, mixing them up. Now, sometimes, let's say you can't bake, boo. I know I can bake. I'm not trying to be shady, okay? But, you know, I think I'm related to Snow White because I really can bake, and I don't care for apples, like eating them. The only way I can eat an apple is if I'm eating apple pie, applesauce, um, cook it, apple juice, any transmutation of apples. But when just eating an apple in its natural state, it's not for me. It tastes like soap. I don't know why. Must be a princess thing. I don't know. No, but for me, what Enchanted, rewatching it, made me realize was that you, and I've been meditating on this for a while, you are the magic. The magic is within you. Now, Giselle, let's really put this into perspective. She is technically an alien because she's in a different dimension when she goes through the portal from Andalasia to New York City, which in this universe, she's not really on planet Earth. She's only in New York City, not New York State, even. New York City, the Broadway and the glitz and glamour, all of that, Central Park, all those different, Saks Fifth Avenue, that area. That's the other realm where Andalasia is the contrast, the mirror, the 180 of New York City in this universe. And she comes into the place and shakes things up because of her energy, her vibration. When she came there, she didn't come with any magical items. Now, sometimes those magical items can be a part of the story, but it's not about the item. It's about what's within. And that's what she brought. Now, you can argue and say she has singing powers, which I think she does because as she sings, all of New York, all of New York City, and the people begin to dance with her without a magic wand. But in Disenchanted, that's not what happens. She is no longer her whimsical self. We have a woman who's really an alien. She's not a human. She is a cartoon character, okay? Brought to life in this dimensional world, okay? So when it comes to her relationship to her daughter, the thing is that with Morgan, her relationship to Giselle, right, was so innocent. Now you can argue and say that the puberty trope that could have been part of it. But the way the magic works, technically, it's giving I do believe in fairies sort of vibration with Peter Pan, where Giselle would be the fairy and Morgan would be the Lost Boys, Wendy, Michael, John, and Peter, saying, I do believe in fairies. I do believe in magic, pretty much. Because if Giselle is the magic and Giselle is Andalusian and then the magic is lost, it's a lot of rabbit holes. And that's the problem. There's a lack of continuity. That's just it. So, the next few videos on this topic, I'll do other topics, but in this series, I'm mainly going to be discussing the tropes, the stereotypes, the extra, the superfluous additions to this story. Now, do I think there could have been a sequel? Let's say that we didn't even learn about this. Would I have wanted a sequel back in 2007? Yeah. And to find out that they're doing the sequel all of a sudden after 15 years. Baby, that's crazy. Yeah, 15 years ago. And I think I first saw the movie in 2008, 2009. I remember learning about it, but I didn't really watch it until later on. And what's interesting is that when it comes to like the character of Morgan in Disenchanted, I was Morgan, where I didn't really believe in magic anymore. But then I saw Enchanted, and that was one of the examples that motivated me to let the magic continue. Because I learned subconsciously that it's not anything outside of yourself, it's you and what you choose to do. That is the magic. But in Disenchanted, that's completely thrown out. uh, Enchanted, Giselle, is the magic. It's because of her. I'm not trying to be funny about this, but she has princess powers. Okay? She can magically sew clothes like this. She can call animal friends from birds to cockroaches to flies. Okay? It's so whimsical. It's so campy. It's so glitchy. Giselle is a glitch. Okay? She does not fit in the world of New York City, the land of New York City, okay? Because she's an Andalusian or an Andalusian. So, mirroring that to Disenchanted, there's a lack of continuity. There's a lack of continuity because Giselle would not that just the magic is not consistent here, and that is a major problem with movies like this when you um continue the story and you don't keep consistency. And that's what happened, like, for example, with the different movies of Disney, which is so sad because you think about it, it's like they made those masterpieces and then they made these sequels that it's like as a kid, like if I was a kid watching Disenchanted, I would still like it because I'm a kid, oh, the magic, oh, she learned the lesson. But I'm not a child anymore. And children continue to believe in yourself, continue to follow your dreams, all that good stuff. But when it comes to um, the essence and the expression of what this movie is giving, it's giving us this lesson, children, this lesson that the magic is not within you. That's very dangerous. See, it's these subtle things, okay? A good example of like where they exploited an amazing story and then watered it down is the Hunchback of Notre Dame sequel. Horrible. Had a lot of potential, but horrible. There's magic in the Kingdom of New York through the Evil Queen. No, I didn't even. I don't even think anybody explained that there's a magic well. Where did a magic well between the world of Andalusia and now Monroeville? See, that's the problem. When you moved the story from New York City to Monroeville, that was the signal that this is not going to be a continuation of that story. We're entering into a whole nother trope. And what it was a fairy tale parody, especially when it came to an evil villain. It was so parody. It was Barbie villain, okay? It was the lady from The Little Mermaid, Ariel's beginning, that type of villain. It did it was very bad. It was not impactful. Like they were trying to compare themselves to Cruella and Maleficent. No, you can never. It was bad. But at the same time, there were parts that I liked. I just gotta say this. Adina Menzel's song, Love, There's Always Love, or something like that. It didn't make sense in the movie, but it was the way it was arranged, it was the strongest song, which again, it does the magic does not make sense. So pretty much she's technically a queen. This is an example. She's technically a queen. Wouldn't she have powers herself as a queen of Andalusia? You see how it doesn't make sense? Or does she not have powers because, oh, wait a minute, see, this is the thing. She doesn't have powers because even though she's a queen of Andalusia, she's not Andalusian. She's human. Then Morgan became a child of Andalasia because she is now the stepdaughter of Giselle, and Giselle claims her as her actual child. And then she broke the spell. Oh, spoilers, sorry. And of course, it always is before midnight. But y'all don't even know what that means. It's all esoteric. But if you research it and we'll discuss it, you'll know. You see how this just, there's so much lack of continuity. It's not connecting. Okay, it's a major disconnect. So, I don't mean to ramble, but I'm going to share my initial thoughts with Disenchanted overall. Not trying to even compare it to Enchanted because it can't be compared. But what I felt was that this is a cute family movie. If you want to watch it with your kids, with your family over the holidays, I would say maybe you like Disney a lot. Maybe you watch the Macy's parade, football game, something else. And then you're like, you know what, y'all, let's watch Disenchanted. Or if you have time, watch Enchanted and Disenchanted and compare. Disenchanted or Enchanted, the children are still going to love it. But when it comes to the deeper message, Disenchanted is smothered in frosting and a one tier cake. Okay. Whereas Enchanted is perfectly decorated, just enough frosting, just enough embellishments, but not too flashy. Okay. The tallest cake you can imagine. And the server gives you just a slice of that cake, and you take a bite, and you are flooded with this reminder, okay, that the experience that you have in the world, the responses you have, the reactions, what you do is what creates your fairy tale. That's what the archetype of Giselle reminds us. Even though she's in New York, the kingdom of New York, she's that doesn't mean that she stops being a fairy tale character. Okay? So, of course, I'm sure that there were different writers, and it's 15 years. Maybe if they did the sequel in 2010, 2012, yeah, 2012 would have been a good enough window, 5 year window versus 15, where they can say, hey, let's continue the story. How would we do it? The focal point is Giselle being a magical creature who's an alien in New York City. Her magical voice, her encounters with the people around her, because again, she is magic. So, whatever her life is, whatever her story is, wherever world she's in, her fairy tale is still going to continue. You can take the princess out of Andalasia, but you can't take Andalasia out of the princess. So let's say we pick up where we left off from the, the first movie. And it's been 5 years. Let's say Giselle isn't even pregnant. Because that really didn't add anything to the story. Because, okay, this is something, and I know that this sounds bad, but again, lack of continuity. Once she became evil, the baby wasn't even relevant. She didn't even interact with it. She just got a bunch of garden fairies, random garden fairies, to babysit the baby. That was it. If Giselle really is an evil stepmother, which again was a very cool idea, I like the idea. If she became an evil stepmother in the land of Andalasia, look at Susan Sarandon's Queen Narissa. That's the level of evil stepmother she would be on. But then again, in the magic of Disenchanted, is the magic only effective based off of what the person thinks an evil stepmother is, because then we can have a deeper conversation. Do you not see the endless possibilities with this story? And the beauty about it is, it isn't the only one. There's so many. But when it comes to the way the magic works in Enchanted, the magic in Disenchanted and the magic in Enchanted don't coincide. They're not compatible. They don't continue the story. It cuts off the story once they leave New York City. So we can argue and say that Monroeville is in a different frequency. So in Monroeville, it's mediocre. But in New York City, it's big and grand. And it's a land without happily ever afters. So to truly continue the theme of this story, doesn't matter if Giselle and her family were in New York City or in Monroeville. The magic does not make any sense. The way the worlds work doesn't make any sense. And what really disappointed me, and I will wrap this up for this video, is that the true magic, right, is finding it within, right? That's what Giselle did as a, a cartoon. Okay, I'm still emphasizing this, y'all. She is not human. She is a fairy tale being from the land of fairy tales. And she's transported to another dimension. She's still a fairy tale being. So even though she is now in our world, the world of New York City in the movie, she does not, that doesn't mean that she stops being a fairy tale creature. She's an alien now. Okay? She's in a different, pretty much, she was in a different vibration and then she came down to another vibration, but she's still that. So the magic is still within her, right? But then another thing was that what Giselle does is that she, in a way, inspires people to find the magic within them. That's what was happening. As she was interacting with the people, if you compare the two movies, she didn't need a wand to do that. She just did it herself. People began to dance in sync. They had a big ball at the end of the movie, and they had on these, like who decided to get these clothes? Like, was this pre-planned? It's not the actual. Okay, what I mean to say is that it's all Giselle. It's because this is her story. This is her fairy tale. So wherever she goes, the magic will follow based off of her perspective. So is that why when she made her wish, it was tacky, it was camp, it was almost comical? It was a very comical movie. Enchanted is dark. Very dark. I was scared of Queen Arissa. She was scary. Giselle wasn't scary. Giselle was kind of funny. And so was the amazing Maya Rudolph. There were a lot of good actors in here. Yes. I'm glad she was able to do some singing. She can sing. And I like Amy Adams singing too. But yeah, and then they were singing, okay, child. There was one song where Adina Menzel was singing and she said, "Let it grow, let it show." And I said, "Bitch, I don't mean to curse. See, now I can't make this just for kids." Okay, so never mind. Girl, you better not say let it go. I was like, what the world? But what made me love Enchanted is what made me disenchanted with Disenchanted. The focus of Enchanted is true love. And one of the most important people, Morgan's important too, but she already believed. But one of the most important people that she really didn't interact with in Disenchanted is her true love. Robert. I think his name is Robert. Mm-hmm. No. Edward? No. Edward was the Prince of Angelasia. Yeah. Robert, I think is his name. And you felt that. You could see that scene when they were both together and she was saying, she's like, you make me so angry. She's like, oh my gosh, this is love. I've fallen in love with him. Because she knows what that feeling is. But she's like, no, but Edward is supposed to be the one I'm supposed to marry. So even in the other world, it's not about the magic. It's not about pumpkins turning into carriages. It's not about fairies. It's not about that whimsy. It inspires us. And it exists within us. But it doesn't matter if you are in Andalusia or if you're in the middle of New York City. What's consistent is that the true magic is love. True magic is believing in love again, believing in happily ever afters. Again, New York City in this universe is the land of without happily ever afters. So, two things may have happened. One, in the second movie, they left New York City, the land of without happily ever afters. And then they went to Monroeville, which is the land of comical parody. That's what it was given. Or they just forgot how the magic worked, which I'm more so falling into the latter. They could have done a sequel, and they could have still used this aspect of Giselle being disillusioned with the world that she's in. And because of that, she then amps up on the fairy tale-ness, but it's all her. So the world becomes more and more ridiculously covered in frosting, metaphorically speaking, sparkles and glitter, okay, and fairy dust. You don't need fairy dust. It is nice to imagine, and sometimes there is magic in the world that we're in. But the main focus is finding the magic within yourself. That could have been the theme, okay? But yeah, they really missed the mark with this one. It has a purpose. I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but it is not. I don't consider it to be. I'm saying this straight up. This movie, for me, is not in the lore of Enchanted. It's not. It's not. So with that being said, um, wow, this is one in a million, happily ever after, and I am so excited to go down this path with you all and discuss. I think the main thing, the reason why I made this channel was I was in a very low place, and what helped me remember was to believe in magic again and to believe in fairy tales and in happily ever afters. But what we need to learn and what we need to accept and what Enchanted taught us is that it doesn't matter if you're in Disney magical world, like a world of Disney characters, or if you're in another dimension, say another planet or underneath the ground or in, I don't know, a magical getaway, a cruise of some sort. Like anything that you feel you need to do to make you feel magical and to feel that happily ever after exists. You're seeking for it outside of yourself. But in truth, it's within. So I feel that's what I want this channel with these discussions and analyses to be about finding the happily ever after within yourself, finding your true self, and letting the magic happen around you. Yeah. So, anyways, I said this wasn't going to be long winded, and it happened to be, but I'm excited to continue analyzing this movie and possibly others because, again, it doesn't matter what movie you watch, what book you read, what game you play, what life you live. The message, the story is already, it's always happening. It's all the same. So, yes, you all be blessed, and I wish us all happily ever afters and a million more.